Finally got this stuff packed up. Getting ready to ship this stuff out. Actually just got a few parts in the mail, or at least the last parts that I needed in the mail a few days ago. So I actually went with another stock 97 millimeter bore cylinder. I was going to do a big bore kit, but in terms of durability, it's probably better to stay with this stock bore right here. And they didn't ship it like this. I took it out, oiled it up because I didn't want like condensation to get in there and flash rust it. So yeah, this is another stock bore cylinder. Looks great. Pretty much got everything packaged up. Trying to think what else. Oh yeah, shout out to David Walls Racing as well. I'm gonna pan over and show you guys what he sent me. Definitely check him out. He does a lot of race engine builds for motocross and whatnot. So check him out on Instagram. It's David Walls Racing. So let me pan over to that now. All right, so this is pretty much what Dave over at Dave Walls Racing shipped me. Really nice guy. So these tanks actually came off of this tank actually came off of a 2012 WR250. Back then they actually used, I guess you could call this like a semi-dry sump system. So you'd basically have your engine oil in here, and there was a port on the engine somewhere where it would basically siphon oil out of this tank. And yeah, actually you have a return port here. I'm not sure what this other port is right here, maybe for an oil cooler. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm actually glad I found out about this, because I was looking for a more OE option anyways. That's just less time that you have to spend like fabricating stuff. And this actually went like right near the skid plate area, so like right in front of the engine, which will work out even better because there are a few billet skid plate options that I could use to cover this and basically act as like a protector for this tank. But essentially, like, what I'm using this for is an secondary oiling system just for the turbo itself. I really don't want to have to tie into the engine if I don't have to. It's kind of a hassle because, like, I didn't really have a lot of problems out of it with my last setup with using or tying into the engine oiling system to feed the turbo. But I don't really want to try to avoid it if I can. And granted, I did run a pretty thick oil, so back then I was running 10W50. I even experimented with 20W50, and it didn't seem like much of an issue. The bikes do make pretty good oil pressure when it's cold, but when it's hot, it kind of nosedives. So, and granted, it's not set up to run a turbo, so it's no fault on Yamaha at all. It's just, it's not set up for it. So if I could, eliminate that issue, I think this is a good way to go about it. So you basically just have a small closed loop oiling system just for the turbo itself. So this tank holds like right about a quart. So that. What's up, everybody? Finally got this thing back. Guess we could just jump right into it. As you guys can see, the turbo is actually mounted now. Let me jump back here a little bit, show you the mounting situation. So as you guys saw, like in my previous video, when I gave the last bike update, this is a Maven mount right here, a Maven turbo mount. So it basically acts as a mounting flange, and it has a drain fitting incorporated into it. So we pretty much butt welded some stainless I believe this is 1.25 inches. I have to double check that, but anyways, it's butt welded on both ends. Stainless tubing, using 2 existing threaded riv nuts that are in the frame structure. So that's something that's actually probably going to change though, because I really don't want to depend on something that's actually like pressed into that frame, like this square tubing up here. I don't want to depend on that to hold the weight of this turbo, especially when I start going over bumps and jumps. So I'll probably end up drilling those out and then maybe using like a grade 8 bolt nut just to give it, you know, give me a little bit more peace of mind. So that should be changing pretty soon. Let me see what else. So the good thing is that I also don't have to bother with a external wastegate. You can actually see the internal one is still bolted up. It clears everything. Actually had a buddy help me with the fab work. He knocked this out for me. Looks great. I'm actually working with the same guy doing the chassis work on my Drag Week S10 as well, for those of you that know about that build. Another thing that is also going to change is this is actually getting hacked off. I'll probably do this tonight. This is the T25 flange that it comes with from factory, so I'll cut this off and put a 2-inch V-band on it, and then the other side of that V-band obviously is going to go and connect to the exhaust port right there. But I mean, it's pretty rigid. It's very rigid. Clears everything. I checked the suspension because I know a lot of guys were worried about me having, you know, clearance issues with the swing arm and whatnot, but that's pretty much a non-issue. The key is to mount this as close to this pivot as possible, because even under full swing, this will not hit this. So I know a lot of people were worried about that though. So, but I think it looks awesome though. Looks pretty good. Can't really complain. Got the mechanical oil pump on there. This I'll probably actually be modifying tonight, because basically what I'm trying to do with this setup is I want to use this pump as a pressure pump and a return pump. So normally this right here would be hooked to the bottom of the turbo, which is this oil return fitting right here, and then it would scavenge oil out of the turbo into the pump and then shoot it back into the stator cover. So it's 2 modifications happening with this pump. Basically, I am going to weld up the hole that would normally shoot oil back into the stator cover, because this oiling system would be completely separate from the turbo oiling itself. And I'm doing that because these motors really aren't designed to, you know, feed oil to like an external item like a turbo. I mean, for the most part, this stuff is really splash oiled, so they'll make pretty good pressure when it's cold, when the engine's cold, but it'll dwindle down as the engine heats up, and that is not the best thing, especially seeing as these turbos are journal bearing. So if it was a ball bearing turbo, I might be able to get away with it. I mean, for the most part, with the last setup, I didn't have too many oiling problems, but I did see a little bit of cam bearing wear or cam journal wear, and I'm actually putting money into this engine now, with getting a lot of aftermarket work done to it, and I just don't want to chance you know, something going wrong with the engine. So, and over here, obviously you guys know I upgraded to the FT550. Also got their 3-port boost controller, so it'll be pretty sweet with this setup too, because now that I'm running an ethanol content sensor, I can pretty much have a boost by ethanol content table. And let's say if I go to the gas station and fill up with like a bad batch of E85 or something, the ECU will be able to read that through the ethanol content sensor, and I could basically have this valve right here, which one end will be hooked up to this port on that, to that port right there. That's the boost reference port, because I'll also have a CO2 tank too. So I could have it force that wastegate open, so that way the bike doesn't build boost with bad fuel. So it's more of a safety feature than anything. So that'll be pretty sweet. This is actually the oil tank, and I'm sorry if the videos seem a little bit out of order, because the scene before this I actually shot a few weeks ago. My phone ended up dying in the middle of shooting that. But this is the tank that I was referring to. This is off a older 250F WR, if I'm not mistaken, or YZ, or I think they probably both use this tank. I gotta do a little bit more research on them. But this tank holds, I think, right about a quart of oil. And normally on the older bikes that had like dry sump setups, this tank would mount right here. So basically what I'm doing is I'll retrofit this onto this bike right here. So I just need to weld a boss up there where that rubber grommet is, so that way I have something to thread into to hold it in place. And this tank will actually be tied into that external oiling system that I was talking about for the turbo. So I don't know if this will work, so this will be, you know, this will be a little test to see how it performs. But this pump, I'm basically going to drill into this pump, into the passage that would normally return the oil into the stator cover. And then I'll have a external, probably use steel tubing for this too, just so it's a little bit more robust. I think I actually marked it on the side of the pump, but let's see if you can see it. That green mark right there. So if I were to drill into this green mark right here, it would actually go into the oiling passage that returns the oil back into this cover. So what I'm going to do is weld up the hole that would normally return oil into this cover, and then cross drill another passage into it that comes out on the side of the pump, and drill and tab it for a 1/8 MPT fitting to like a 3AN line. And then it'll basically shoot the pressurized oil that would normally go back into the engine out of the pump. And then that line would go and connect to the top of the turbocharger where the oil pressure feed port is. This line that would normally scavenge from the turbo, well, actually it would still scavenge from the turbo, this one right here, I'll have a Y fitting tied into this port right here, and the other end will basically go to the bottom of this tank, which will be filled with oil. So the only thing I'm worried about with this setup is inducing like oil aeration. So that's why I'm saying this is a test. I don't really know if this is like, you know, if this is like the definite answer to have a external oil system just for the turbo. But it's definitely something that I'm exploring the idea with. And I really want to keep it all mechanical, because I don't want to run a electric oil pump on this bike. It's just like, even though I know I have the upgraded WR stator, it's just I would rather not tax my electrical system with the external electric oil pump, because it's one more part that can go wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong, the mechanical pump could also be an issue, but it would be a lot less problematic and less worrisome, like when I actually drive this thing through water or anything. So I just, you know, I want to minimize the amount of electronics that I'm actually throwing on it. So anyways, as of right now, that's the idea behind the external oiling system. Also have this right here. I think this is like a Taiwan made piece, Taiwanese or whatever. This is a billet, stainless steel billet turbine housing collector. So the nice thing about this is how the way I have it positioned, I'll easily be able to run a pipe in the stock location right here. And I'm actually thinking about doing like a pretty cool teardrop or something like that Just, you know, something zesty. But that'll give me, you know, a good amount of length to tie a wideband O2 sensor in for the FieldTech ECU as well. So that'll be pretty sweet. And what else? I mean, for the most part, I am happy about this new design because I can actually ride the bike how it's supposed to be ridden now. I don't have that freaking charge pipe coming up the side anymore. So, I actually don't know if I'm running this either. This is a silicone coupler. I'll probably do a aluminum V-band, save a lot of space, because that coupler is pretty close to the coil spring, and if I ran aluminum pipe, I would have a lot more room. So that'll probably, I'll pull that off after the video. But yeah, this was a big part of it right here, this internal wastegate, because I didn't think that we would be able to get that to fit underneath the frame without hitting anything, but it fits perfect. You can actually see the arm right there. That all clears the mounting pipe pretty good. Then obviously the hot side and the cold side, they'll both be ran on this side of the bike. So hot side, I'm using Schedule 10 pipe, so it'll be a lot more robust versus the first setup. I mean, even though I didn't have any cracking issues with the first setup, it's just, you know, I'm taking preventative maintenance. So when this thing, like, you know, takes a spill or anything, I don't have to worry about, you know, the piping getting damaged or anything, because the Schedule 10 stuff is just really like overkill. I want to say it's like 160 thou thick as far as wall thickness goes, so it's really overkill. And then, like I said, the code side, you can see it's angled pretty good, so I can get like a 45-degree aluminum pipe angle in there, so that'll come up through here. Hot side will also go through here. I think hot side will be lower, cold side will be higher. I'll wrap the code side as well in some DEI heat tape, just so it doesn't, you know, get heat soaked by the exhaust. But yeah, I shouldn't have any leg interference issues or anything with this new setup. So yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, so this is a more up-close view of the actual turbo assembly, like off the bike, so you guys can see. Still got the internal wastegate. That clears pretty good. I actually just clocked that upwards because this nipple was in the way for the compressor outlet. So you can see how this mount works. Uses 2 bolt holes off of the existing frame right here and right there. But these are like riv nuts, so I actually want to just completely remove these and use a bolt and a nut, because you know, once I get to going over bumps and jumps, I don't really know how these will hold. Maybe it'll do fine. I don't know. I don't want to find out the hard way, so I'm gonna just use a grade 10 or grade 8 bolt and nut instead. So, but flip this over, Maven mount. Still got to put a turbo drain fitting in there, and I actually got to cut off this T25 flange. I'm gonna do a stainless V-band, so it should buy me a good amount of room once I switch to that, and should gain a little bit more clearance. But I'm pretty happy with this setup so far. And yeah, this is also a billet T25 turbine outlet housing. It's billet steel, or billet stainless steel. And then, like I said, we are actually going to route the pipe right in the stock location right here. Might do like a cool teardrop end or something. Haven't really decided yet. But yeah, let me I'm gonna throw this back on the bike. Oh god, I almost caught throw this back on the bike, and yeah, just take a look at it again. So yep, give me a sec. And also picked this up. I want to say, like, I actually bought it like back in April, but these were on back order. So this is the new electrical system for the bike. It's basically a smart PDM. For any of my race guys that, you know, watch my channel, this is basically like a race pack smart wire for a bike. So it's a smart PDM. It has wireless Bluetooth capability, you know, so you can interface with it through your cell phone. So they have actually a pretty badass feature that you can use with this Mo Unit Blue. It's called Keyless Go. And basically what that is, you know, once you have like your battery and everything hooked up in the bike, this receives battery power, and it's always in a sleep or a low current sleep mode. So it's like always on standby, but it's not drawing a lot of current or anything when the battery's hooked up to it. And this has low energy Bluetooth, and you can actually set a predetermined range for it to connect to your phone. And the moment that the phone connects to it, it's basically using your phone as like a wireless software key, so to speak. So once that connection is established, it'll actually bring up the entire electrical system. So I'll actually probably make a video on this. I actually think I have one. I got to check. But yeah, since the fuel tech will be tied into it, the moment that connection is made between the phone and the actual M Unit Blue, it'll automatically turn the fuel tech on. It'll turn the lights on and everything, because it senses that I'm walking towards the bike. And that's also something that can also be toggled on or off. Like, you don't have to use it, and you aren't forced to use it. But I thought that was something that was pretty cool, because it basically eliminates the need for you having to have a physical key. And then you can also tie like one of your handlebar buttons into it, because all this is pretty much doing is, when your phone connects to it, is it's sending a 12 volt signal to this unit right here. So you can use a button as a backup as well, just in case like your phone dies or anything. So basically you aren't dead in the water. Another neat thing about it is it has like a full alarm system integrated into it. And it has a self-pinking feature. So like if you know, go somewhere in town and you forget where you parked your bike at, it'll keep tabs on it 24/7, and it'll give you the last location where the bike was last seen. So that's also another badass feature. And I'll probably just have to make a video completely dedicated just talking about this, because like even the features that I mentioned is, I'm literally just scratching the surface on what this thing can do right here. So this thing is like really badass. So I mean, I almost can't believe you have that many features, or it has the capability of the features that it does, like on a bike like this. So that's insane. But yeah, so I actually already started on the wiring for it as well. Let me so you can see, actually comes with the wiring harness and everything. And this is just one connector right here, because they have an input and an output side. So this is the low current input side. Everything is ground controlled. Actually terminated it into a Deutsch connector. This is a, what is this, a 12-way. So yeah, I actually picked up a Deutsch connector kit off of Amazon for pretty cheap. Comes with the crimping tool and everything. So this actually worked out pretty good. Normally, this cubby right here houses the Wi-Fi module. That's pretty much the communication device that you use to interface with that Yamaha Power Tuner app, so you can like change the like tune settings on the bike. Since I'm not running that anymore, this is pretty much like free real estate. And this is the new PDM right here, the Moto Gadget M-Unit Blue Smart PDM, and it actually fits perfect right there. So guess what's going right there? Still got to get the mount for the Fuel Tech. That'll be mounted on the handlebars. I'm actually looking at a billet mount that a company that's dedicated to like turbo Hayabusas. They make a basically a bolt together mount for this setup. Even has a mounting spot for the wideband O2 Nano that Fuel Tech sells also. So that'll be pretty sweet to have everything mounted on one, structure. So, but yeah, hopefully I can get some video of me actually wiring the bike. That stuff, once I get a good flow doing something like that, I usually just try to knock it out, because I don't really like taking breaks, and it's just, once you get a good pace going, it's kind of hard to stop. So wish I just had like my own like videographer or something. But yeah, as far as everything else goes, I actually have David Walls Racing. Give him a shout on Instagram. He deals with a lot of the race motocross engines. He's taking care of the motor for me this time. I was having a lot of extra work done anyways by him, as far as like doing a CNC port job on the cylinder head goes. Had all the transmission parts rim finished, so everything basically looks like a mirror now, so it should shift like butter. And then also something else that I decided to pick up is a set of turbo cams. So I'm working with David Walls Racing and Webb Camshaft to get a set of turbo cams for this thing. So that should also help a ton. So that'll be pretty sweet. But yeah, as far as it goes, man, I should be making a lot of progress in the coming weeks. I really want to have this thing out for the Woodward Dream Cruise, which is, what is today? Today's like the 9th. Dream Cruise is like the 17th of August. So I have like a little bit over a month to get this thing ready. Wiring, I'm going to try to get knocked out this week. And then, I mean, as far as everything else goes, parts will be trickling in here and there. So, yeah. Also upgrading to the WR headlight as well. That stuff should be here Monday. So, yeah, just stay on the lookout. New videos. I'll be sharing like older content in between, just to hold you guys over, because obviously the parts delays and supply chain issues haven't been too kind, so it's a little bit of wait time there. But yeah, just you got any questions, leave it in the comments. Any suggestions, leave it in the comments. Follow me on Instagram, subscribe to me on YouTube, and yeah, just stay tuned.